You are listening to the Persistence Mastery Podcast to give your communication skills the clarity edge with your host, Paul Leon.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to cover effective storytelling. Before we get there, I have been the president of a Toastmasters club, master corporate sales trainer, and I also put myself through college doing a lot of different gig work. And one of that gig work was doing stand-up comedy. And so I've had a lot of different communication mediums to really test and plan out what effective storytelling really looks like. So, with that today, let's get right into the content. So there's different levels of storytelling. Level number one is general storytelling. So essentially what that means is you may have a basic thing you want to talk about, or a concept, or an idea. And in that, you want to have some type of general story. So let's just take recycling. Let's say your idea is recycling is important. You go online and you find an article on how somebody took recycling and they did X, Y, Z to resolve this recycling issue. Well, that's a general story. You went online, said recycling's bad, and the reason recycling's bad is what we have found is X, and in this example, boom, that's general storytelling. So that's level one. Most people who put in a decent amount of effort into their presentation are going to be able to do this. Number two is influential storytelling. And what that means is influential storytelling is when you are part of the story in that presentation. So we're going to stick with the same example of recycling. So let's say you're doing a presentation on recycling, you have your data points, you have what you need, but now when it comes to your story to sell your point home, you have an example that involves you as part of the story. So it might be a time where you did something to help resolve that recycling experience. Or in all your research, what you did to find the best example of how you can make a difference in recycling. See, when you tell the story, to make it influential, it has to have you as part of the story. So that's influential storytelling. Okay? And number three, and this is the hardest level to achieve, is effective storytelling. Let me tell you what that is. Effective storytelling is when you are able to tell a story that has you in the story, and here's the pinch point. That story has to carry the content, the data, and the information throughout the entire presentation. And I will tell you this from experience, I really do struggle even to this day to do effective storytelling. Now, obviously, that takes a lot more practice to get there. And this is something that was re-hitting my radar recently from a good friend of mine, Brian Oswald, who's studying for his master's in education. And we were breaking down the different ways of how could somebody get to effective storytelling if they really wanted to achieve this. Well, let me give you those additional tips. How you get into effective storytelling, we discovered, was start with the end. So if you were creating your PowerPoint, outline, whatever tool you want to start with to create your presentation, start with your end result. So let's say you want your story to end with XYZ call to action. Start there and work backwards from, okay, so when the story ends here, what happened before then? And what point or data point can I put in this experience? Boom. And then keep going backwards until you get to your opening. And I know this is going to sound pretty basic, but typically most participants, attendees, whether it's live, virtual, or in person, we're not talking about pre-recorded, it's a totally different conversation, they're going to remember typically the first and last thing you say. The middle part sometimes can get a little convoluted, they may have to repeat or re-listen, but most people start with the first remember the first and last thing you say. So, to drive this home, to be an effective storyteller, think of a story that can carry throughout your presentation, your data points, and the important things you want them to walk away with. Start with the end, have a strong ending, and have a strong beginning, so you can definitely make an impact in your next presentation.
Thank you for listening to the Persistence Mastery Podcast. Subscribe to where you listen to podcasts. And if you want to hire Paul to train or speak for your team, visit persistencemastery.com and fill out the request training form.